You have been lied to. Your GPA is not the most important part of your grad school application. And if you keep believing it is, you're going to fall behind. I graduated with a 3.9 GPA in the top 5% of my class. But what actually got me into a fully funded biomedical engineering PhD program and what I now teach my mentees has nothing to do with grades. In this video, I'm going to talk about what really matters in your grad school application, whether it's for PhD, master's, or even med school. Now, before I start, let me be clear. Your GPA is not completely meaningless. It does, in fact, open doors for you, and it's nice to have a high GPA because it shows that you're competent. However, it's not going to be the thing that gets you into grad school. I've seen students with 3.4 GPAs get into top PhD programs and students with 4.0 GPAs who don't get in. And the reason why is because, at least in the US, we have what are called holistic admissions. That means when you apply to graduate school, there is a committee of people who are reading your application and essentially deciding whether or not you get into grad school. And because there are humans deciding whether or not you get in, the most important part of your application is going to be your narrative. And your narrative is like the story of who you are. It's who you are, what you care about, and who you're going to become. And most people view this like a checklist. And I know this because I did this too. I thought that you need a high GPA, research experience, some volunteering, and some letters of rec in order to get into graduate school. But what all of these things fundamentally boil down to is evidence that supports your narrative. A great application has experiences, letters of rec, and a personal statement that all align with a central narrative. And your GPA is just one more data point that supports your narrative. So, how do you build a narrative that stands out? Well, this requires a deep reflection, and the earlier you start, the better. I fell into the trap of just doing as many extracurriculars as possible, trying to check off all the boxes. And what ended up happening was when it became time to actually write my graduate school applications, I ended up trying to reverse engineer my narrative based on the experiences that I had. And that was actually very difficult. And what I realized was if I had started earlier, I would have realized that half of the experiences that I didn't actually make it to my final narrative because I was doing it to check a box, not because I actually cared about it. So if I had started earlier, I would have realized that and spent more time on the things that I cared about and less time trying to check the boxes because at the end of the day, they didn't even make it to my application. So what really helps is to have a central theme. And for me, my theme was studying traumatic brain injury. So I worked in a research lab that was tangentially related to traumatic brain injury. I published my research, so that was a strong evidence for my narrative. I invented a device that could assess sports concussions, which is essentially a mild traumatic brain injury. So that was very strong support of my narrative. And I presented that research at a sports medicine conference, another strong piece of evidence for that narrative. And I wrote a compelling narrative explaining how traumatic brain injury had personal relevance to me because I had experienced a traumatic brain injury when I was younger. Now, when your application has experiences, letters of rec, extracurriculars, everything that aligns with a central theme, the admissions committee will see that you're the kind of person who's not just checking boxes, that you're the kind of person who has a mission, and that's what's going to get you into grad school. So if you're an undergraduate student who wants to go into grad school, no matter what year you are, this is what I want you to do. I want you to sit down, grab a notebook like this one, and just sit and write. And the prompt that I want you to use is, when it's all said and done, what do I want my career to have meant? What's the story that I'm going to tell my grandkids about what I did for my career? And I found that that prompt really helps me think about the long term goals that I have for my career. And then I just want you to sit and write. And It's going to take some time for you to get used to it. So what I like to do is something called free writing. So just start writing and eventually you'll get distracted here and there, but eventually you'll get to the core things that you want to do with your career. And once you have an idea for your narrative, I want you to pursue experiences that align with that narrative. And the cool thing is when you approach your experiences this way, you're going to enjoy them a lot more because you're not doing them to check a box. You're doing them because you actually have a purpose in doing so. You'll find purpose in your experiences and you'll enjoy them a lot more. And I don't want you to worry about being perfect because let's be honest, you're not going to finalize your narrative on your first time thinking about it. This is an iterative process. You're going to keep going back to the drawing board and refining your story over time. And over years of doing this, you will eventually get to an extremely compelling narrative that will get you into whatever grad school you want to go to. Grad schools don't just want students with high GPAs, they want students who are going to make the world a better place. And your GPA doesn't show them that, but your narrative does. If you want to skip all of the trial and error and get into grad school the smart way, I made a full guide called the Undergraduate Research Playbook. And it's everything that I wish I had when I was starting out. I'll teach you how to find labs, cold email professors, get paid to do research, and construct a narrative that will get you into graduate school. If that's something you're interested in, click on the link in the description. And with that, I'll see you next time.